In the second part of the lecture, we are going to discuss what is supply and demand, and what's the relationship between efficiency and consumption, and we'll try to understand how market failures cause environmental harm. So economics is the study of how people choose to use resources to produce goods and services, and how these goods and services are distributed to the public. Let's say you decide to buy something, right? The money you paid go back to the resources and the investors, and they can decide where to spend the money. And the money also is used for the extracted resources, wages for the workers, a bunch of applications. So in many respects, environmental problems are primarily economic problems, or we can see economic problems will cause environmental problems. So just a quick view of this graph here. To produce a quarter pound of hamburger beef, okay, only a quarter pound, you can see we have to use about 7 pounds of greens and about 50 gallons of water, about 74 square feet for grazing and growing feed crops, and this much energy to produce a little bit meat like this. So we have to use the resources, the plants, the water, the land, of course, fertilizers, pesticides. We have to care about the soil. Eventually have to burn the fossil fuel, right? So it's not that easy process as you imagine when you consume the goods and makes the purchase choice. Simply speaking, I think this is easy for everybody. When the supply is bigger than the demand, the price will drop. The opposite way, the price will go up. If they are about equal, then the price stays stable. Now we review what is demand, a measure of how much people are willing and able to pay for a good. So this is about buying, right? And the supply, the measure of how much of the good is available. So this is availability of merchandise. And the system that brings buyer and the sellers together to exchange goods is a market. Now let's use this example to deepen our understanding of those concepts. I'm not going to be very detailed because you can read your textbook, but I just want to summarize here, right? In this peak, this is a little bit after 2008. There's a period of time when the oil supply is greatly decreased and the demands are greatly increased. And at this time, the price will rise sharply. And during the global recession, okay, because the demand goes way down and the supply goes way up, that's why the price dropped very sharply. I also want to have a word about scarcity motivates innovation. So in the beginning, we use the traditional oil drilling method, the vertical oil drilling method, and then hydraulic fracturing, which is called fracking, was invented, so that allow us to extract more oil in a structure like this. And then the deep water offshore drilling was invented, which has allowed us to explore more the conserve under the ocean. You can see how deep it is, 700 millimeters. That is 7 kilometers. So when the oil is spilled, when there's a big accident happen to this structure, You can imagine how disastrous it will be. Now, let's look at efficiency and consumption. So the steam engine was invented by James Watt, and he rent his steam engine to other people. The economist Jevons, and he discovered that when the fuel efficiency dropped down, actually there's more use of the steam engines. So when it becomes cheaper and cheaper, the use of the steam engine is increasing a lot. So that's the basic concepts. Okay, increase in efficiency produce increase in consumption. That's it. And it's called Jevons paradox. It means efficiency gains in the use of resource can lower the cost of the resource, which can cause consumption of the resource to rise. Let's just do 3 simple exercises. So the best way is you pause here and read those questions and think about your own answer. And then after you have your answer, you can listen to my lecture. Okay, I'm going to reveal the answer here. So when gasoline is cheaper, is the consumption of the gas going up or down? According to Jevons paradox. It's going up. When it's cheaper, more people use it. So the consumption goes up. In Houston area, when the hurricane was coming, does the demand of gasoline go up or down? It's up, right? Will the gasoline price go up or down? Eventually it go up because the supply and the demand, right? The demand greatly increased considering how big Houston is. And that's exactly what happened, although we don't have Laura here. That's exactly what happened 2 days after the projected landfill date, and the gas price started to increase. So is gas consumption higher or lower when gasoline price goes down? I'll leave it to you. Check out this really fun video. I love it. It's only 1 minute and 30 seconds. And keep thinking about why we build more traffic lanes, and eventually the traffic jam is getting worse. So we're going to discuss about this concept of externalities. I will start with the negative externality. That's why that's when the economists fail to calculate our loss. One example is the coal mining. Okay, so when they plan to do the coal mining, they only calculate how much coal will extract, will be sold, and how much profit will be making. And those costs in this table here was not brought up on the table. For example, line disturbance, we don't have a mountaintop anymore. Per year, it's 54 million to 3.3 billion. I'm not going to go over all the table, but there's health loss, right? Fatalities, public health problems, emissions, climate change, all those are very expensive. So these are called externalities. This is the negative externalities. Another example is the tragedy of the commons. A commons means a land. Okay, everybody share. If the owners of those cattle, they only pursue their short-term benefits, they will graze more. They feel like this is a competition. If my cattle is not there, then I'm going to lose money. So eventually everybody get their cattle there, and eventually this land was overused and abandoned and has no value anymore. So that's called the tragedy of the commons. So how government address negative externalities? This is a very good example, cap and trade. I'm going to be a little bit faster. So basically, this is the government regulation. See, there's a lot of coal burning plants, okay, and everybody is emitting the sulfur dioxide, nitrate oxide into the atmosphere. And each company has a license, and the government decide what's the maximum pollutant they can emit into the atmosphere. Let's say, let's name them A, B, C, D, okay, from left to right. So A has 100 load of, let's say, pollutants. And at the end of the year, A only used 70. So he has 30 left. And B actually overused. B has like 150 and he used up 150 by August, let's say. And he needs another 30. And he will purchase the 30 from A. So this is how it works. Okay, so the pollutants can be sold as money in this case. Of course, externalities are not only negative. The positive externalities are ecosystem services. I already touched the subject in the first part of this part. I already taught in the first chapter. And if you are curious what are ecosystem services and the details about ecosystem service, you can go back to the chapter, and I have slides for you to review. So why we produce a lot of harmful things and not good things enough? Imagine you get a bonus when you sell 10 cars, right? But you do not get bonus when you plant 20 trees in your neighborhood. So this is an example. Markets tend to underproduce things that have positive externalities, since producers do not receive compensation for positive externalities. And maybe we can create incentive or other system change to change the society structure or economic structures. And that's I leave out to you, very smart individuals. The concept of ecosystem services assign dollar values to the range of human benefits from naturally functioning ecosystems. And this is a beautiful picture on the right side. The wetlands have economic value, right? We live in Texas and Louisiana. Keep thinking about the value of wetlands. And I think wetlands is one of my testing points. Outdoor recreation, fishing, if the water is nice and there's a beautiful view, a lot of people go there fishing in the park, and you charge everybody $3 for entering the park. Not only the $3, okay, it provides other values also. I'm not going to be lengthy discussion because at the end of the semester, you will understand where the value comes from: the air, water, the trees, animals, even the non-living things around us. And last, I want to mention the public goods. And those are the things that cannot be produced profitably. So the government pay those charging stations for the electric cars. And some state governments are supporting construction of electric vehicles charging stations as a public good. And I wonder why they are not constructed by the companies producing electric cars, but I guess they are only car companies, right? They are not doing city construction, something like that. So that's conclude the second part of my lecture.